3 seconds. That's how long the kiss lasted. 3 seconds for Aria Monroe to press her lips against a stranger's mouth, taste whiskey and copper, and realize she'd just signed a contract written in blood. The Sapphire Lounge didn't breathe anymore. It held perfectly still. She pulled back, pulse hammering against her throat, expecting surprise. Maybe anger. Instead, she found something infinitely more dangerous. Recognition. Like he'd been waiting for her specifically. Dante Valentino's eyes locked onto hers with surgical precision, dark as midnight in Sicily, reading her like a contract he intended to enforce. He wasn't built like men who worked out for vanity. He was built like men who broke bones professionally. Shoulders that filled doorways. Presence that devoured light. Tattoos crawled from beneath his collar. Intricate Renaissance art rendered in black ink that disappeared under fabric too expensive for this Boston neighborhood. His hands rested on the table like holstered weapons. One was bleeding, fresh, dark against his knuckles, glistening under neon. Not his blood, she realized with a sickening drop. "You taste like bad decisions," he said, voice low and certain, like stating facts. Aria swallowed. "It was just a dare." "Just," he repeated, testing the word's weight. Then his hand moved, not fast but deliberate, wrapping around her wrist, not to hurt, to claim. "You have no idea what you just started." She tried pulling back. His grip was absolute. "I'm fine. You can let go now. Game's over." His eyes finally lowered to her face. Not roaming. Measuring. "Games have rules," he said, thumb brushing her pulse point. "And consequences." The bar kept moving around them. Someone laughed too loud. Glass shattered near the pool tables. But in their pocket of space, time suspended. He released her wrist, placing that large hand on the table beside her instead. Close enough that she felt caged by presence alone. "You shouldn't let people push you into things," he said, voice carrying an edge that straightened her spine. "I wanted to," Aria heard herself say, lifting her chin in defiance she didn't quite feel. That earned something new. Not a smile, interest. Then he stepped back, giving space as if he'd never blocked it. "Be careful," he said. Just that. Nothing more. Aria didn't wait for explanation. She turned and walked back to her table, forcing her legs to move normally, even though her heart was trying to escape her chest. Behind her, she felt his gaze like a physical weight between her shoulder blades. "Hello, my fierce hearts and midnight wanderers. Before we lose ourselves in this story, make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button to let me know you're here. In the comments, tell me, where in the world are you listening from tonight? I love seeing how far our dark romance family reaches. Your support keeps these stories alive. So find a comfortable spot, dim the lights, and let's begin." Maya was already talking before Aria reached the booth. "Oh my God, what did he say? Did he freak out? That was insane, Aria. Is security almost—" Nothing happened. Aria cut in, sliding into her seat, reaching for her drink with a hand that trembled slightly. "It was fine." Val's eyebrows shot up. "Girl, you kissed the most terrifying man in this bar, and he looked at you like he was deciding whether to kill you or keep you." Aria laughed, but it sounded hollow. She drained half her glass. "You're being dramatic." "Am I?" Val leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Because I'm pretty sure I just watched a predator mark his prey." "It was 3 seconds," Aria said firmly. "And now it's over." Except it wasn't. Every time she glanced toward the VIP section, he was there, sitting in the same position, watching. Not staring, not leering, just aware, tracking her movements with the patience of someone who had all the time in the world. An hour passed, then another. Aria danced, laughed, took selfies with Maya, and Val did everything to prove the kiss meant nothing. But when she excused herself to the bathroom, she found him waiting in the hallway. "Jesus!" Aria pressed a hand to her chest, heart lurching. "You scared me." Dante stood with his back against the wall, arms crossed. looking like he'd been there for hours instead of seconds. Up close, she could see him more clearly. The precise fade of his haircut, the way his dress shirt fit like it had been tailored in Milan, the coldness in his eyes that suggested he didn't scare easily, or at all. That was the point, he said. Arya straightened, trying to reclaim confidence. Are you following me? You kissed me in my bar, he said. Like that explained everything. Maybe it did. My city, actually. The bar is just a small piece. Something cold slithered down her spine. Look, I'm sorry if I offended you. It really was just a dare. I know. He pushed off the wall, and she fought the urge to step back. But you chose me. Out of everyone in that room, your friends pointed at me, and you said yes. You were the most serious-looking guy here. It was funnier that way. Funnier, he repeated. This time, there might have been amusement in his voice. You have no survival instincts. Excuse me. The man you kissed, Dante said, moving closer, was in the middle of a conversation about collection methods. The man you kissed has 17 bodies to his name. The man you kissed owns half the illegal operations in Boston's North End and is currently being investigated by 3 federal agencies. He paused. And you walked up to me, put your hands on my jacket, pulled me down, and kissed me like you had every right to. Arya's breath caught. He was close now. Close enough that she could smell him. Something expensive and clean beneath the faint metallic scent of blood. That kind of confidence is either breathtaking or suicidal. I haven't decided which yet. I'm just a crisis consultant, Arya whispered. I clean up corporate messes. I'm nobody. Dante's hand came up and she flinched, but he only brushed his thumb across her lower lip, so gently she barely felt it. You're not nobody, he said. Not anymore. Then he stepped back, straightening his cuffs. Go back to your friends. Finish your celebration. But understand something, Arya Monroe. Her name in his mouth sent chills racing down her arms. You walked into my world tonight. Leaving isn't as simple as walking back out. Arya woke to sunlight stabbing through her apartment blinds, and a headache that felt personal. She lay still, staring at the ceiling, trying to piece together the previous night. The celebration, the dare, the kiss, the hallway conversation that felt more like a threat than flirtation. You walked into my world tonight. Leaving isn't as simple as walking back out. She groaned, pressing her palms against her eyes. It was just talk, intimidation tactics from a man who clearly enjoyed having power. Her phone buzzed, 3 missed calls, from her office. At 6 a.m. on a Saturday, her stomach dropped. She called back, and her assistant answered on the first ring. Arya, thank God. I know it's your day off, but... A pause. Papers shuffling. We have a situation. A new client bought a controlling stake in the firm overnight. He's asking for you specifically. Who? But even as she asked, Arya already knew. A Mr. Dante Valentino. He's waiting in the main conference room. And Arya. Her assistant's voice dropped to a whisper. He brought his lawyers. And security. Lots of security. Arya sat up slowly, the room spinning. I'll be there in 45 minutes. She ended the call and sat on the edge of her bed, processing. The kiss had lasted 3 seconds. 3 seconds that changed everything. Because Dante Valentino hadn't just marked her as prey. He'd hired her, and Arya Monroe had a sinking feeling this was only the beginning. The elevator had never felt so slow. Arya watched the numbers climb, 12, 13, 14, each floor bringing her closer to whatever hell waited on the 16th. Her reflection showed a woman dressed for battle. Charcoal pencil skirt, silk blouse the color of a dried blood, heels sharp enough to be classified as weapons. She'd tied her natural curls back into a tight bun, exposing the sharp lines of her jaw. War paint. The office was wrong the moment she stepped through the glass doors. Too quiet. The receptionist's desk sat empty. her computer monitor still glowing with an abandoned email. Through the glass walls of the main conference room, she saw them. 7 men in black suits flanking the table like cemetery statues. Her business partner, Richard Sterling, sat in the corner, his normally ruddy face gone the color of spoiled milk. And at the head of the table, exactly where Richard should have been sitting, was Dante Valentino. He'd traded the blood-stained shirt for an expensive suit, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored. His tattoos were hidden beneath crisp white cotton, collar buttoned high enough to conceal the ink that crawled up his neck. He looked legitimate, legal, like a businessman instead of what he truly was. That made him infinitely more dangerous. Arya pushed through the door without knocking. "Mr. Sterling, what's going on?" Richard opened his mouth, but nothing came out except a strangled sound. "Mr. Sterling is no longer relevant to this conversation," Dante said, his voice carrying that same dark calm from the club. He gestured to the seat across from him. "Sit." "I'd rather stand." "I wasn't asking." She met his gaze across the room. Every person watching this power play unfold. She'd spent 10 years building this company from the ground up, clawing through an industry that had tried to shove her into a corner labeled diversity hire. But her legs carried her to the chair anyway. Dante slid a manila folder across the polished wood. It moved silently, deliberately, stopping exactly centered in front of her. "Open it." Arya's fingers trembled as she lifted the cover. Inside were photographs, high resolution, professional quality. The man from the club, the one who'd been begging at Dante's feet. Only in these images, he wasn't begging. He was sprawled on concrete in an alley, head twisted at an angle that defied anatomy. Blood pooled beneath him, black in the camera flash. She swallowed bile and flipped to the next photo. Same man, different angle, then another. 12 photographs documenting systematic destruction. "The police report will say drug overdose," Dante said conversationally. "Tragic. His family will receive a generous settlement from an anonymous benefactor." Arya forced herself to look up. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you need to understand what you've walked into." He stood, buttoning his suit jacket, walking around the table. Each step measured, controlled. He stopped behind her chair, close enough that she could smell cedar and smoke and something sharper underneath, like ozone before lightning. "My public image requires sanitation. You're going to provide it." "I'm a crisis management consultant, not a criminal defense attorney. I don't need legal help. I need a miracle worker." His hand came down on the back of her chair. "Last night, there was an incident at one of my warehouses. A gas leak caused an explosion. Very tragic. 12 people died." "A gas leak. That's the official story." He leaned down, mouth close to her ear. "The unofficial story is that those 12 people were stealing from me. The unofficial story is that I made an example. The unofficial story ends with gasoline and a match." Arya's hands clenched in her lap, nails biting into her palms. "I want you to do what you do best," he said. "I've read your file, Miss Monroe. Very impressive. The pharmaceutical executive caught with underage prostitutes. You turned that into a story about seeking treatment for sex addiction. The tech CEO who embezzled $60 million. You made him look like a victim of identity theft." Each case he listed was a scar on her conscience. Hearing them cataloged made her feel stripped naked. "Those were different," she said weakly. "Were they?" Dante leaned against the table. "You've been cleaning up messes for criminals in expensive suits your entire career. The only difference between them and me is that I'm honest about what I am." "The difference," Arya said, standing abruptly, "is that I had a choice. I could walk away." Dante smiled. It was the coldest expression she'd ever seen on a human face. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a phone. Without breaking eye contact, he pressed play on an audio file. Her own voice filled the room, tinny through the speakers, but unmistakably hers. "The payment will be wired to the Cayman account. Make sure the audit trail goes cold at the third shell company. This conversation never happened. She remembered that call. A pharmaceutical client 3 years ago. He'd paid her $4 million to make evidence disappear. The audio ended. Silence rushed back in. Wire fraud, Dante said pleasantly. Conspiracy to obstruct justice. Should I continue? You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you a job. I bought your partner's gambling debts 3 months ago. As of 6 this morning, he signed over his voting rights and equity to avoid having his legs broken, which means I own you. You'll do exactly what I tell you to do, when I tell you to do it. Or that recording goes to the FBI. Arya looked at Richard, slumped in his chair. He wouldn't meet her eyes. She looked at the men lining the walls, faces blank masks promising violence. She looked at the photos scattered across the table. I understand, she said, and felt something fundamental inside her crack. Good. Dante moved to the door. The police are holding a press conference at noon about the warehouse fire. You have 3 hours to craft a statement expressing our condolences and pledging to improve safety standards. You'll deliver it personally. He paused, hand on the handle. And after that, Miss Monroe, you become complicit. Welcome to the family business. The coffee shop Maya had chosen was aggressively trendy. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, chalkboard menu. Arya sat in the back corner, watching her best friend of 8 years navigate through the Saturday brunch crowd with mimosas in both hands. Maya Young had been her roommate in grad school, her maid of honor at the wedding that ended in divorce. They'd built their friendship on late nights and shared secrets, but Maya was nervous. Arya had known it the moment she walked in. The way her eyes darted to the exit, the way she gripped her phone like a lifeline. I ordered us the avocado toast, Maya said, setting down the mimosas with too much force. Liquid sloshed over the rim. Great, Arya agreed, picking up her glass but not drinking. She watched Maya cataloging details. The watch, Cartier, rose gold. Easily $10,000. New. Maya worked as a physical therapist. She couldn't afford that watch. The nails, fresh acrylics, stiletto-shaped, done at a salon that charged $200. The designer purse sitting beside her, still sporting the price tag tucked discreetly inside. Arya's stomach dropped. That's a beautiful watch, she said casually. When did you get it? Maya glanced down at her wrist. Something flickered across her face. Oh, this? Early birthday present to myself. I've been saving. Lie. Arya had spent 10 years learning to read people. Maya's pupils dilated. Her mouth tightened. Her hand moved to cover the watch face. Maya's phone buzzed on the table. She grabbed it immediately, angling the screen away, but not before Arya saw the name at the top. Associate, just that. No first name, no emoji. The coffee shop suddenly felt too warm. The dare hadn't been Maya's idea. Val had suggested it first, but Maya had been the one to point out Dante specifically. To insist Arya pick the scariest-looking guy. And afterward, when Arya had wanted to leave, Maya had tried to convince her to stay, to have one more drink, to wait just a little longer. Maya, Arya said softly, are you in some kind of trouble? What? No, why would you? Another buzz. Maya looked at the phone and her face went pale. Let me see your phone. Mel, that's crazy. Let me see it. Arya's voice dropped into the register she used for hostile negotiations. Now! Maya's hand shook as she unlocked the phone and slid it across the table. Arya picked it up, scrolled through the messages from Associate. Most were mundane. Times, dates, locations. Then, confirmed. Target made contact. Payment transferred. She took the bait. Clean break from here. Don't contact her again unless instructed. The date stamp was from last Saturday, the day before the dare. Arya looked up slowly. Maya's eyes were wet. Mascara already beginning to run. Mel? I swear I didn't know. I didn't understand what they wanted. Who are they? But Arya already knew. I owed money, Maya whispered. Gambling debt. 50,000. These men showed up at my apartment and said I had 3 days to pay or they'd... Her voice broke. They said they'd kill my mother. $50,000. Maya made $60,000 a year. 50,000 might as well have been 50 million. So you sold me, Arya said. Her voice came from somewhere outside her body, detached, clinical. They didn't tell me what would happen. They just said to bring you to the Sapphire Lounge, to dare you to kiss this specific guy. They said it was about business connections, that he was looking for a crisis consultant, and this was how he vetted people. Did you know he was a killer? Maya's silence was answer enough. Get out, Arya said. Mel, please. Get out! She didn't shout. The words came out in a hiss of pure venom. You put a target on my back. You fed me to a monster to save yourself. We're done. Maya stood on shaking legs. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But Arya had already turned away. Her phone rang. Dante Valentino's name appeared on the screen. Did you know I'd figure it out? She asked instead of hello. I was counting on it. His voice was maddeningly calm. I'm parked outside, blue Maserati. You have 60 seconds to get in. Arya looked out the window. The car was there, engine running. She could see Dante in the driver's seat, phone pressed to his ear, watching the entrance. Why? She asked. Why did you need me specifically? Come find out. The line went dead. Arya left a 20 on the table and walked out into the bright Boston sunshine. She got into the Maserati. Dante didn't look at her, just pulled smoothly into traffic. You manage accounts for the Romano cartel, he said after several blocks. 3 years ago, you set up their entire offshore banking structure. Beautiful work, actually. That was a legitimate client. A restaurant chain that exclusively launders money. Don't insult both our Mayans whom receive intelligence. He turned down a side street. The Romano operation runs drugs through my territory. We had an understanding. But recently, they've gotten ambitious. They want the North End. They want the port access. They want me gone. And I'm leverage. You're a key. With you, I can bleed them dry without firing a single shot. He pulled up to a stoplight, finally turning to look at her. Your friend's death was never about money. It was about positioning you. I've been waiting for an opening to bring you in. When she got desperate, my people suggested a solution. Then why the charade? Why buy my company? Why the blackmail? Because I needed to know if you'd break or bend. He reached across the center console. Inside the glove compartment was a gun, matte black, compact. He pulled it out and offered it to her, handle first. The safety is off. If you want to kill me, do it now. Shoot me. Drive to the nearest police station. Or put the gun in your purse and accept that we're in this together. The metal was warm, heavier than she remembered. She looked at Dante, at the man who'd blackmailed her, who'd bought her company, who'd orchestrated a friendship betrayal just to trap her. He watched her with complete calm, not a hint of fear. Arya put the gun in her purse. Now you know the cost of loyalty, Dante said quietly, putting the car in gear. Welcome to the war, Miss Monroe. Try not to die before you become useful. 6 months later, the Sapphire Lounge had been renovated. New owners, new staff, all on the Valentino Syndicate's payroll. The VIP section, where Arya had taken that dare, was now permanently reserved. A throne room in a kingdom of vice. Arya sat between Dante's legs on the velvet banquette, wearing a dress that cost more than her old apartment and a diamond necklace worth more than the bar itself. Her natural curls fell free over bare shoulders. The Valentino organization had expanded. With the Romano cartel crippled and the FBI neutralized, they'd absorbed territory like a spreading infection. The North End, the port, half of downtown Boston. Dante wasn't just a crime lord anymore. He was a king, and Arya was his queen. She transformed the organization's operations, legitimizing their business fronts, creating shell companies and charitable foundations that laundered money so efficiently the IRS couldn't touch them. Remember this place? Dante murmured against her ear. his hand tracing patterns on her bare thigh. "Where you walked up to me like you owned the world. I was drunk and stupid. You were magnificent." His lips brushed her temple. "Still are. Flattery doesn't work on me anymore. Doesn't it?" His hand slid higher. Arya laughed, genuine and unguarded, and turned to kiss him properly. The bar around them continued its nightly business. Deals being made, loyalties being tested, the machinery of organized crime grinding along. But in their corner, it was just the two of them. "I dare you to kiss me," Dante said, echoing that first night. "No?" Arya smiled, predatory and perfect. "I don't do dares anymore. I give orders." She kissed him anyway, and it tasted like copper and expensive whiskey and the future they'd carved out with blood and bullets and absolute certainty. The city of Boston spread out beyond the windows, glittering and corrupt, and theirs for the taking. Arya Monroe, fixer, killer, queen of the underworld, felt absolutely no regrets. She'd walked into Dante Valentino's world as a dare. She'd stayed as a choice, and she would burn it all down before she ever left.